The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Remember a simpler time when it was okay to be weird, have fun, and think for yourself?
Well, those days are over. The art of conversation itself is dead. Sacrificed on the altar of divide and conquer and disguised as political correctness and spared feelings. I believe that unity can only come from truth, and that the only way to find truth is by exploring and embracing our valuable differences and having civil, open-minded, and uncomfortable discourse. Conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the taboo topics are really just praise you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. We are here to literally change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. So if you're easily offended, put your big girl panties on and buckle up, Buttercup, because you chose to be here.
I'm Dan Smots, you are the power, and this is The System is Down. Welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. The System is Down, the place where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics. I've got a guest here, Allan Stevo. And Allan, I just want to make sure you're not frozen there, because you looked a little frozen. You good? Okay, you're good. All right. Well, then, we'll continue. Welcome to the show. This is where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics, the taboo things. We do so in a civil, loving, and open-minded manner just to explore the world and seek truth together and obtain knowledge and grow the human species. But we're going to get into my conversation with Allan here in just a moment. But before we do, I got to remind you guys about our sponsors, and the main one, of course, is you guys. The members of the Downers Club, which you can sign up for at patreon.com/The System is Down. People like Joe Kabinski, Derek Evans, Davis Johnson, other people that I'm too slow of a reader to get to, Howie Snowden, David White, Edward Middlebrook, etc., etc. If you want some more weird, some more raw, more offensive, more weekly content, consider supporting the show at patreon.com/The System is Down. Also, got to remind you guys, we just launched our new social media platform, which is antinewslive.com. You can check that out now. Since we're getting kicked off and banned from all the other platforms, just seemed like a safe time to start making some backup. So check that out. Come have the conversations with us at antinewslive.com. But my guest today, as I already mentioned, the author of the book, How to Never Wear a Mask Again. I want to make sure I get this right. How to Never Wear a Mask Again? Is that right?
Face masks in one lesson. But you got
one lesson.
You got the concept down.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at the subject of the email. Never mind. Face masks in one lesson. It's Allan Stevo. Allan, how's it going, man?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on. It's a joy to be with you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here. I've done a little bit of digging into your background, not all that much. I wasn't familiar with you until you guys reached out to me, but seems like you've had your hand in a lot of awesome libertarian spheres and areas, doing work for the Mises Institute and stuff like that, working on different campaigns. Can you give me a little bit of background on yourself, kind of just back further even than the libertarian stuff, like what brought you into the movement?
Well, that's a good one. I was living in Europe, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, take a look at this guy talking about gold," and his name was Honorable Ron Paul, and I said, "What a weird sounding name." It hit me weird, and then I read some of his stuff that was more economic and around the topic of gold. That was maybe 2006. And a friend of mine who owned a bookstore and cafe there, he said, "Hey, there's this other American who in town who's been reading Ron Paul stuff lately too. Why don't you guys get together?" And we got together and we started having these. We made it a point to get together once a week. And Ron Paul puts out this syndicated column once a week, and we'd get together and talk about this 300, 500 word article. We'd argue it over a little bit, and before you knew it, other people were joining us doing that. And people would pass through town, and by December 2007, there was this Tea Party money bomb. We had a few groups around Europe doing the same thing as us. People would go home and get their own kind of group together. And so there were a few groups around Europe that were meeting once a week, doing their own kind of pro-liberty activities. And we gathered together a group called Americans in Liberty for Ron Paul. We put together a blog. We had that event, that Tea Party money bomb event outside the European Parliament. And this whole process kind of was part of my radicalization toward liberty, I would say. Ideas I'd already had, but lots of libertarians I'd met, they just were jerks. And
they still are. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of jerks in our party, but it is what it is. That's kind of what you get when you put a bunch of free thinkers together that, you know, push against authority in every way. You're gonna run into some speed bumps, but you've stuck around to some extent. What kind of work have you done since then? You worked on the Ron Paul campaign to some extent, right? And a few others.
2008, I was involved in Ron Paul's campaign. 2012, I was involved. A bunch of states both times. 2016, I helped in Rand Paul's campaign. It maybe went a month into 2016 or 2 months maybe. I helped out the campaign, and many dozens of others beyond that. So I've done some political consulting work, from just the total recruiting volunteers and training them all the way up to managing entire campaigns, local, statewide, big city, and then some national. And 2013, a few folks and I from Ron Paul's campaign, we'd been working together in New York. After the 2012 campaign, we were working together in New York. And this guy would not shut up about Bitcoin. And this was an amazing thing about Ron Paul's campaign, that you'd get, in any kind of fringy campaign, you end up with people on the margins of different kind of areas, culturally, politically, and they kind of come together. They do some socializing, they mix their ideas up, and then they go back home. And the campaign being so kind of like rooted in philosophy really kind of helped some of that happen. So Bitcoin, the concept of Bitcoin, I think, was very much pushed out by that 2012 campaign of Ron Paul's. One example being the exchange that we started. So the guy wouldn't shut up about Bitcoin. 2013, we started something called the New York Bitcoin Center, right next to the New York Stock Exchange. You can walk in with cash, walk out with Bitcoin. Some days there might be 1,000 people through the doors. And it's covered in this Netflix documentary, Banking on Bitcoin. Just a fantastic movie that tells the story of the time. And the ultimate kind of regulation and legalization of kind of the free market around Bitcoin that existed in
Your
New
house
York.
isn't being swarmed by SWAT team right now, is it? Just making sure.
You have not made this one live yet, so no.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, what was it about, like, this topic in particular? Like, obviously, it's something that we're all going through, and most of us, I would imagine, aren't really enjoying the whole mask thing. And actually, before we get into that, I've been getting kicked off of YouTube on a regular basis, so we're going to cut here shortly out of the safe version that is for YouTube, because YouTube doesn't want real people talking about real things anymore. We're going to cut out of that and go have a real human conversation over there with all the scary anti-mask stuff. But can you give just a real short synopsis about some of the things that we're going to be talking about?
Oh, totally. So millions of Americans are totally exempt from wearing a mask. I live in super hardcore lockdown land. I never wear a mask. I'm going to want to ask your viewers, if they're wearing a mask and they don't believe in it, what's their excuse? Why are they doing that? I want to present some techniques for how they can go maskless, and reasons that they would want to do that, from the science down to the principles of freedom around it.
Sounds good. And let everybody know your website real quick before we kick off of YouTube.
Totally. My book's Face Masks in One Lesson. That's anywhere you can buy books. Amazon.com is where a lot of people are buying it. BarnesandNoble.com, others are buying it. And my website is realstevo.com, RealStevo.com, realstevo.com. You go there, you can actually get a free sample of the book, a little segment of it to kind of help you get a taste for what the book's about.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do for YouTube. Sorry, it's short, but that's all they want. They just want little fake snippets, so that's what you get. But we're gonna go talk about the real meat and potatoes here over on tsidpod.com. Thank you.